So genetics contributes around half of the gains that we've seen in performance across many different species, be they pigs, poultry, or dairy cattle. And we've seen this in Ireland too for a number of different traits like milk production. Half of the gains we've seen in milk production have actually been due to genetics. From a fertility perspective, half of the deterioration we saw in fertility was actually due to genetics. But once we recognised this, we implemented a breeding programme in Ireland through the EBI, or the Economic Breeding Index, to select aggressively for reproductive performance. And if you look at the last 4 years data on farms, we're now seeing an improvement in reproductive performance. So what it means is that we can do things with genetics once we know that the data is available and there is genetic variation. So if we look at the EBI, the Economic Breeding Index, which is our national breeding goal, what we have done over the past few years is we review it annually, and when we see that new traits need to be included, then we include those traits. So of late, we have recognized that animal health is probably going to become the next fertility problem, if you want to put it that way, because our fertility is improving so much so that by the year 2020, our fertility levels will be where they were in 1989. So I believe that animal health is going to be the next factor that constrains our performance, because genetics, it creates the potential, management realizes that potential, but disease can destroy that potential. So we started analysing some of the animal health data and a range of different diseases: tuberculosis, Iones, BVD, IBR, Mastitis, and Lameness. And what is clear from all of those diseases is that there's phenomenal genetic variation in there. If we just take tuberculosis as a single example, it costs the Irish economy around 80 million euros annually. And we haven't made massive strides since our eradication schemes in the 1950s. But what we have shown from our analysis is that 18% of the variation of whether or not a cow succumbs to tuberculosis is actually due to her genetics. And if we look at the distribution at the sire level, there are sires there where 96% of their daughters actually got TB. If you actually look at that individual sire, he's an old sire now, but his bloodlines are still in Ireland. If you look at his genetic evaluations for somatic cell count, of all the AI sires available in Ireland, there's around 4,000, he has the worst possible somatic cell count genetic evaluation there. So in summary, what our evidence has shown is that there is clear genetic variation in animal health. We know it's important, so therefore what we're looking at now is to build our database of animal diseases, and in the very near future make it part of the EBI so that we can improve animal health as well as improving animal performance and animal reproductive performance. The information we get comes from a range of different sources. If we look at the production diseases of Mastitis and Lameness, farmers record that, but probably not to the extent that we would wish them to record it, because we need a lot of data to be able to do our analysis and produce genetic evaluations for animals. Tuberculosis comes from the National TB Eradication Scheme. Iones, there is sporadic recording, but now as part of the Animal Health Ireland scheme, we will hopefully be getting access to Iones data. Cystic ovaries, we get part of when vets or AI or technicians record ultrasound sonography of the reproductive tract. BVD, we get that data as part of the National Eradication Scheme. So we get the data from multiple different sources. As far as possible, we don't like to pressurize the farmer, put more work on the farmer to record it, but for things like mastitis and lameness, we need the farmers to start recording that better.